Shalom, and welcome back to Bnei Noach Academy, Thoughts on the Torah. Please remember to hit the like button, to subscribe, and most importantly, to share this insight and inspiration with friends and family. When you look at the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verses 4 and 5, these are perhaps the most famous verses in the entire Torah. In fact, every Jew is commanded to recite this twice a day. As it says in these very same verses, when you lie down, when you rise up, you should speak in these words. This is so crucial. But let's understand what these words mean. In verse 4, it says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one." And then it continues in verse 5, "You should love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might." What does this mean exactly? First of all, what does it mean, hear, O Israel? Why not see, Israel, that this is the fact, that the Lord is your God? What does it mean, Shema? Shema means hear, listen. And what does this mean? That God is giving us a commandment. You should love the Lord your God. Imagine you don't like strawberry ice cream, and your host is offering strawberry ice cream. You're gracious, so you eat it because you can tolerate it. But imagine they turn around and say, "No, you must love it." I don't love it. In other words, what kind of idea is this? What does this really mean? That God commands us to love him. Either you love him or you don't. Well, the answer lies in verse number 4. Shema, hear, listen. What does it really mean when we say hear and listen? It means understand. Biblically, whenever you say listen, it is synonymous with using one's power, one's capacity to delve into the matter, to try at his or her best to understand it, to comprehend it. In fact, we even use this in our day-to-day talk. When someone understands something, they say, "Oh, I hear what you're saying." It means I understand what you're saying. I get it. What God is commanding us to do is not to just rely merely on faith. Faith is fantastic. Faith is a very good thing. It's a prerequisite for everything. If you didn't have a basic level of faith, then these words are meaningless to you, right? The Torah, the words that Hashem dictated through Moses would be meaningless to us if I don't have basic faith in Hashem. But the problem becomes when one relies exclusively on faith and leaves it with that, then one is in a great problem. In fact, there's a famous expression in the Talmud that really brings out this point in the most vivid, colorful manner. The Talmud says, "Ganava apum machtarta rachmana karya." I know that's Chinese to you. That's Aramaic for a thief. While he's about to break and enter, he calls out to God. Now let's analyze this for a moment. He's a thief. He's going to do something which is clearly, obviously against God's will. And yet, he's talking to God. He's asking God to please give him success. Make sure he doesn't get caught. What's going on here? Do you believe in God? Well, it's obvious by virtue of the fact that he's praying to God that he has faith that there is a God. He's talking to him. But at the same time, that faith is not strong enough. It's not compelling enough in his life to dissuade him from taking these bad actions, from engaging in this bad deed. He doesn't obviously believe that God can provide for him if he were to choose to do the right thing and follow in God's ways. And this is what God's telling us. I want you to listen. It's not enough to have faith. I want you to study about me. I want you to try to understand. Obviously, there is a glass ceiling somewhere. A human being cannot fully comprehend absolutely what God means, what God is, because it's beyond our scope. But certainly to reach that glass ceiling is a very far distance. There's a lot of work for us to be done. And God is saying to you, your obligation is not to just leave it at faith, not to just rely on basic faith, but to study godliness. And once you do so, the more you come to appreciate God, and you should love the Lord your God. You will come to love God. If you see a stranger in the street, think about a spouse that you have a long-term relationship with. When you didn't know him yet, even if there was an attraction, that wasn't love. That was maybe attraction, call it lust, infatuation, which is good, which is necessary, but that's not love. Look at a couple that's been together for 50, 60 years. There's no, aesthetically, there's no attraction there anymore, okay? There's nothing really to get excited about in terms of what they got excited about maybe when they were teenagers. But being together, knowing each other so deeply for so long, through good, through bad, through good times, through bad times, through pleasant times, through worrisome times, that's love. They appreciate each other. They really know each other and understand each other deeply. And that's what God is telling us to do. I want you to know me. I want you to listen. I want you to understand me as much as you possibly can as a human. And then you certainly will come to love me, because what's there not to love in God?